everybody. Welcome to another episode of the AI Inside podcast. After a week hiatus that was unexpected, we'll talk about that. I'm one of your hosts, Jason Howell, joined, if I can get my mouse over to this little box over here, by my friend and co-host on this show, Jeff Jarvis. How you doing, Jeff?
Welcome back. All right. How are you? How are you?
I'm doing okay. So, anybody who doesn't follow us on socials or whatever, who all you do is strictly subscribe to the podcast or watch the videos when they come out and you don't know any of the behind the scenes stuff. Basically, last Monday evening, I started feeling yucky. Last Tuesday morning, I woke up feeling awful. I did a test. I had COVID, and there was just no way that I was going to be able to do the show. Wednesday, which is when we record the show, was probably my worst day. And so I'm really happy that we did not do it because it would have been gross to listen to me for an hour.
I don't care about AI. I just want to go to sleep.
I mean, and it was full on dizzy. It was body aches. It was the whole 9 yards.
Have you had it before?
Yeah. This is my third time. Jeez. Apparently, I'm really bad at avoiding COVID. But, we've got kids in school, and like 2 days prior to getting to testing, I was chatting with someone because I was just telling you before the show, we're getting ready to leave early tomorrow morning for a backpacking trip through the long weekend. And I was chatting with some of my friends who are going on the trip, and they're like, God, I hope we don't get COVID. It seems like everybody has COVID right now. And sure enough, the next day, I started feeling yucky. So I think it's just kind of in the area. And
yeah, it's definitely around. Definitely around.
Yeah. But I'm feeling better today. I'm a little tired and groggy, but I'm definitely not feeling COVID.
You seem perky
enough. Yeah, perky enough. Yeah. So anyways, I missed hanging out with you. There was a lot of stuff that we could have talked about and that we were planning on, and just didn't get to happen.
So instead, I got to watch the Pixel event, which was on when we were on. So I watched that.
Yeah. So, okay. So, I mean, I think this top of the show story can be focused on Google and the new Pixel and a little other related news with Gemini. But I would have covered it last week, but I was sick. So I got to be just a viewer of the event. What did you think? We were talking about it a little bit pre-show, but what did you think?
It tried a little too hard. It was a little dorky. Yeah. And as we were saying beforehand, I didn't learn a damn thing about the phones and devices because that wasn't the point. The point was to make it cool and fun, and we're not just for nerds, we're for Jimmy Fallon. So I think you're right that it's worth trying something. I asked Leo Laporte how this ranked against the most embarrassing Samsung launches. And he said, Samsung's still far worse. Samsung did this Broadway thing one year that was just embarrassing.
That was 2013, actually.
Right. That's
with the S4, I believe. That one was pretty cringy, right? Because it just like, but again, like my view on this, and we were talking about this a little bit in pre-show, and this has nothing to do with AI and everything to do with like theatrics and how you conduct a product announcement and reveal and get people hyped is, I think initially when I was watching it from my sick bed, was okay, this is really hard to watch. It's kind of cringy. Some of the jokes aren't landing. Oh, that one was okay. Like I thought legitimately the voice translation demonstration was legitimately cool. Yeah. And when I had heard about that in advance, we will talk about that, I was like, okay, that's a really neat use of AI. And they kind of demonstrated that and showed off why it's neat.
And they've been foretelling it in many IOs, but it looks like it's finally arrived.
Yeah, totally. And so I ended the event just kind of like eye rolls, like, oh my God, that was really hard to watch. But then over time, as it percolated more, I was like, am I just reacting to the fact that I'm used to these things being a certain way, and when it's not, I'm automatically offended by it because Steve Jobs, however many decades ago said, this is how you do this. Or should I just kind of give Google credit for like trying to flip the script a little bit and try something new? And when you try new things, it's scary. It's different. It's not what you expect, but sometimes it lands and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And that's just part of taking risks.
And as I think back, actually the Googlers were the best at it. I can't remember the marketing person, the woman who was at the table, the very messy table.
The QVC set?
Right. And she was great. Fallon was kind of screwing things up and not knowing what was what. And the stars were more awkward. The Googlers did very well, I think.
Sure. Yeah. Well, they're used to, right, doing a product-focused event. Anyways, that's the event. Today, which would be Wednesday, August 27th, is kind of the embargo lift day. In fact, a few minutes right before we recorded this show was the embargo lift for reviews of the next lineup of Pixel phones, the Pixel 10. I do have the 10 and the 10 Pro in my hands here. This is the 10, and then here is the 10 Pro, which I've been using for a little less than a week. So I'm not necessarily at a point to where I give a full review with a little less than a week. I'm kind of trying to focus my efforts on more longer term reviews on these devices right now. I do have a video that went up today that focuses entirely on Material 3 Expressive, which is the UI design language that's integrated in the Pixel 10. So if you want, you can search my name on YouTube, just search for Jason Howell. You'll find my video. It just went up. But I thought today we could take a look at a few of the AI features, since that is what we do here. And I have played around with some of these features and kind of see, like, is there promise? Is this at all interesting? Is this shoehorning AI into, you know, into relevance on smartphones? I'm curious to hear what you think about it. So, So you want to see a few things?
Yeah, let me judge it.
All right. Well, I think the first
thing... that is, I think the first we've seen on the show, Bronson there, right?
Yes, that is
very important. That is the famous Bronson.
That is my dog, Bronson. There's my new dynamic wallpaper that very easily popped him into a very colorful lock screen. So yeah, that's my wonderful dog, Bronson, who's down here chewing on a toy right now. Anyways, he's amazing. But he is not the star of the show this time. There is in Discover tab is an area called Daily Hub. And when you go in there, this uses AI to be smart, to take a look through all of the signals that it gets about you on a personal level, like your calendar, where you are, to inform like what the weather is. Here are a few helpful reminders, and it surfaced that from Gmail. So this is actually, I would say, authentically helpful, is that my daughter's in a play and she needs to bring in her base costumes for the play by Friday. And so this is a reminder that's saying you've got 2 days left. So that's neat. So it's meant to be like a little digest, and it changes throughout the day. This, of course, says good morning, but if it was later in the day, it would update and it would give me more information that's relevant to later in the day. This right here, I do not feel is incredibly helpful to me. Like anytime
this is only on the Pixel, on the new Pixel.
Because as far as I know, yes. Yeah. As far as I know, right now it is only on the Pixel 10. I'm sure it's going to come to like the Pixel 9, and I don't think it requires the Tensor G5, which is what's underneath here. I think the earlier Tensors could do this too, but it's definitely previewing, as it says up at the top, on the Pixel 10 series. And, I think my main complaint about this has been anytime I open it up, it doesn't necessarily give me something that I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm so happy I opened it up. You know what I mean? Like, it has this little area down here, catch up on trending videos and podcasts during less busy afternoons.
I'm busy right now. I just woke up.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, I'm busy. Don't you know I'm doing a podcast? Like, where's podcast in here, by the way? Oh, there it is. Post-production. Okay. All right. Since I'm beyond the actual start time, it assumes that I'm doing it. So it's giving
you put in post-production in your calendar?
Yes, I do.
You are so organized.
I have to. I mean, it just mentally, I have to put that in there so that I know, like, this is the block for that thing. Yeah. And it still doesn't help me as much as it should. Anyways, so it has this like media area, and down here, it's always kind of like, okay, so you're being smart, or at least you think you're being smart, showing me things that I might want to watch. But I don't know that I would look at any of these and be immediately like, oh, right now is the time that I want to watch this random thing you gave me. Like, anytime these systems try and be smart to tell you what you want before you want it, know you want it, I don't find them to be at all effective. I don't know about you. That never seems to work.
I'm a news hound, so I would prefer some news links in the morning. Like, while you slept, this is how the world got messed up even more, versus to have to start the day sitting there and watching videos, because it even admits it's wrong. Later, when you have time, you might want to watch these videos. Well, then show me later.
Yeah, right. Or are you putting this on my radar so that I remember it later? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the point is there. And then this area down here, this explore area, this is all AI prompt kind of ideas. That's basically what it is. So it shapes it as
This
design.
prompts you to prompt the AI.
Exactly. So when I look down here, it says design instant pot recipes. Sorry, my notifications are going crazy. Okay, so maybe I need to like plan a meal for tonight because tonight is the night that I'm going to do a meal. So I go there and then, it gives me like latest trends, curate quick recipes, learn about instant pot modifications and hacks, one pot Korean cuisine. Okay, so I'll tap that. And then it fires off Gemini and just does either a search or a Gemini summary or like, I just don't know why I would do that.
Right.
I can understand why they might think I might want to do that, but in my day-to-day, I'm rarely ever going to open this and be like, yeah, I'm going to do this now. And okay, now that it's given me this, I'm going to now integrate it into my life. I don't know. Maybe I'm not the right audience for it, but
Solution looking for a problem so far.
yeah, totally. Or trying to, it's kind of like trying to prove itself a little bit in usefulness. You're talking about wanting the news. And I mean, I should point out that this is integrated into the Discover tab, which we have on the Pixel if you go over. And that is your like endless stream of news.
Too,
so
yeah.
I suppose you have that if you need it, And so anyways, I don't know that I necessarily consider that incredibly useful to me. Maybe it will over time. Magic Q.
Yeah, I'm curious about that.
Yeah, so what is Magic Q? Magic Q, sorry, I'm trying to find an app that I can demonstrate it because Magic Q really is something that just pops up randomly throughout your use. And it's essentially contextualization, yes, of what you're doing, but then turning that into, oh, I recognize that this thing happened on your phone. Maybe the next thing you want to do, given that information, is this. And so it's trying to like give you suggestions with cards that appear to prompt you to do things before you have to go through the process of doing it yourself. So they say like you might get a message in your Google Messages that has a flight number and confirmation, and it might pop that up and say, hey, do you want to add this to your calendar? Or that's coming up. Do you want to call the airlines and check in for your reservation or whatever? It tries to be smart about the information that you have stored in here and make actionable suggestions, if that makes sense.
Yep.
This is just a demonstration because it's not something that I can just fire off and say, give me a Magic Q summary. It just happens organically.
So if you're in the middle of sending me a message, would it recognize what you're doing and finish it for you?
I haven't noticed that to be the case. I honestly, part of my disappointment, but not in the feature, but in how I've experienced it, is that it's happened very rarely for me. I think it happened 2 times on the first day of me setting up my phone. Both times it was tied to an incoming message that I was getting from my wife in one case and my daughter in another. Both times what it recognized was, hey, these are important people in your life. Would you like to add them as priority contacts? I was like, oh, that's actually pretty helpful. Sure, I'll do that. And then it took me to the menu or the window or menu or place to do that. And I had already done that. So it recognized that I might want to. Props for that. But it didn't recognize that I had already done it. And
Right.
so it was kind of unnecessary. Yeah. But okay, I'll give it props for recognizing that I would want to do that because I would legitimately want to do that if it wasn't set. So that's Magic Q. I think jury's still out for my experience on that. Let's see here. I need to set up for something called ProRes Zoom because ProRes Zoom on the Pixel 10 Pro, there is a is it 3x or 5x optical zoom lens on the Pixel 10 Pro, which looks great on its own. If you zoom into 10x, which is twice as much, it's still optical quality. 10x zooms look great on it. If you go anywhere between 30x to 100x, things start looking really janky and ugly. But what ProRes Zoom is it essentially applies generative AI to your output. So, for example, this is a 100x photo taken with the Pixel 10 Pro. 100x is essentially like a crazy amount of digital cropping. And so you end up with this like watercolor effect, right? Everything looks smeary because this is like literally miles away. I was at my daughter's soccer game and this was the hills way, way, way off in the distance. And so you can kind of make out, depending on the size of your screen, if you had this on a really big screen, this would look like watercolor because it's all smeary. And then immediately the phone recognizes that it's beyond 30x and it applies generative AI to sharpen it. And this is what it comes out with. And it actually, it actually adds some definition to the trees. Suddenly now I can see the leaves. I've got, a pretty sharp hilltop, whereas before it was very blurry and smeary. Now it's sharp. I've got some sort of details. It's impressive. I think the important thing to remember here, though, is this is pure generative AI creation.
Right.
Do these leaves actually exist in this way, shape, or form? Probably not. But the AI has picked up on the fact that there's this little brighter blurb there that this is probably a tree, and it has made the determination that this is what those leaves on that particular part of the tree look like. It's probably close enough to real, but it's not real. You know what I mean?
Right. But
and
I like that.
Does it matter?
I wonder, I'd be interested if you're trying to read something in the distance, how it would do with text.
I wish I could show it. But last night on, actually it just published at 10 a.m. today because of the embargo, but Florence Ion showed a boat at the harbor, and on the front of the boat was the name of the boat. And when she went in on it, you got full on AI gobbledygook. It was just,
that's revealing. Oh, that's very revealing. Okay. So
but at the same time,
text,
like this, but at the same time, it had no clear take on what that text was anyways, because it was 100x. It was super far away. So it knew that there was text there, but but you couldn't see on the unsharpened image any specificity on what those letters were.
And so it was making it up. Is that it knew it was text, it filled in garbage text, which reveals it's AI.
Yeah.
But also, where was I headed here? The problem is that you're not going to know whether this is done or not. In that case, it's almost good that it was gobbledygook, but then you don't know what part of the image is real, is based on reality or not.
Totally. It's a version of the truth. Or it's a version of reality. I keep calling it fiction. It's total fiction. Yeah. If you take a look at this, another one of my images, this is of a hilltop with, some antenna looking structures off in the distance. There's some heat refraction here, so things are kind of warbly and stuff, through the hot summer heat and everything. The AI sharpened image then, yes, clarifies things. But like if this thing was really that wobbly and warbly, these antenna things, like that would be a scary structure. But AI is working with what it has.
It's a steel power tower,
right? And it's working with what it has, right? Like
go back to that other image too. The funny thing is, in the fixed up image, go back to that.
Oh, back to the fixed, yeah.
Yeah. So the wires are not going tower to tower. It's presuming the wires are going down to the ground.
Yes, no, that's true. Yeah, so, I can see why it would interpret that, which, I mean, all this is to say that, like, when you get this phone and you go into your camera settings, there's a specific area that says in order to use super red zoom, you have to download this model. It's more than a gig of size. So you download that, and then it stores that model on your device. And that's what all this generation does. Google has said specifically that this is really meant more for landscapes. It's not meant for people, because, I mean, it's just not going to get it right? Like it's generative AI. Actually, this is a funny example from that perspective. Let me see here. I was at the dog park. There's a golf course next door. So I did 100x zoom, and this is the blurry, there's a tree in the foreground. There's a couple of golfers in the background.
Donald Trump is golfing. Yeah.
Yes. Right. I'm like snooping in on golfers. Sorry, golfers. And then the sharpened image, it sharpens everything except the golfers. They're still like totally blurry, but the tree is like super sharp and kind of fake looking. I mean, it's just a weird composite. Wow. So anyways, nothing that you get out of 100x zoom is real. I mean, it's a version of reality, but it's not real.
One question, since you've got to download that gig model,
yeah.
If one is going to buy a Pixel 10 and wants to use all the AI goodness and gravy, should you get more system memory?
I mean, yeah, like storage.
Yeah, storage.
I mean, sure, you might as well. These things do occupy space. And also there's just the fact that like the cameras can shoot higher definition video and photos. And so that's all going to be occupying space. I would say my general recommendation is max out on storage if you can afford to, because those aren't things that you can upgrade later. Right. And if you are continually running into it, yeah, you'll wish that you had. And especially as AI models move more on device, that occupies more space. Yeah, that's certainly a big consideration. So that's ProRes zoom. Flo was like really down on it. Like, this is horrible. This is awful. I'm like, I'm not down on it. Just understand what it is.
Yeah.
It's not showing you reality. It is total generative AI fiction. And sometimes it gets it close enough to write that it's usable, and sometimes it's laughable, but that's just is what it is. One that's really hard to show is Camera Coach, which is, this one might be a little too difficult to show because I've got the top-down camera. But essentially, it's a mode you can go into where it takes, here, let's try this.
It's like again. You have our friend Aunt Pruitt over your shoulder.
Yes, so I'm going to, let's see, you're not going to see this for a second, but I'm going to hold it up to my teleprompter and hit the Camera Coach button. And you will all get a revealing look into the little sign that I have below my teleprompter that says, quit saying, So there's that. So now what it does is it gives me different ideas of how to frame the image. So right now it says change. So, based on the camera image that I took, and now it's just giving me pass through. Like I said, this is going to be hard for me to show, but it gives me a step-by-step walkthrough on how to get the best image based on the photo that I showed it.
And to then take it again. It doesn't do anything.
And then to take it again. Exactly. And the idea here is to like walk you through and like teach you something about taking better pictures. Yeah. And okay, if you got the time, sure. I mean, yeah, maybe I feel too confident in my picture taking to like be like, well, I'm not going to let it tell me what to do. I'm just going to take the picture I want. But it's kind of neat. That seems like a useful thing. I don't know how often people are going to use it though.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you got to be in a certain mindset to be like, teach me how to be a better photographer. Like, that seems like an app more than it is an integrated feature. But
I saw Wired put up comparison photo, breaking the embargo, I'm guessing, comparison photos between the 10 and the latest Apple phone until next week.
Oh, okay.
Or next month. And as Google has been better on this for a couple of years now, picture of a man and person of color, and the Google was far better.
Yeah, Google's done a lot of work on that.
They've really done work on that. I wonder whether it does those kinds of things about lighting and, is it composition? One of the things it's looking for, I'm wondering.
Yeah.
Is it just composition? Is it?
My experience was that it was about composition. But I didn't see anything. I also didn't really honestly dive too deeply into it. Like, it was a couple of pictures outside. I was like, oh, this is curious. I wonder what it would tell me to do with this sunflower that, is in our front yard.
and how can you do it wrong?
All right, so get a little closer. Make sure that the sunflower is in the top 2/3 with the stem, blah, blah, blah. And, it's telling you all this detail. So again, it's kind of speaking to the benefit or the strength of some AI systems to recognize what it sees, to know how to verbalize what its suggestion is for you to do, and to walk you through it. So it is a cool demonstration of the capabilities of on-device AI to walk you through things and teach you something that you might not have known.
Cool. I've got one question about the AI.
Handy it is.
Is there anything else on what else is on your list of demo?
Oh, you'll like this last one. Okay, so yeah, and then absolutely question. Okay, so Recorder is an app that we've had on Pixel for quite a while now. I obviously use it a lot to record thoughts, and when I'm working on like a piece, my impressions video of the Meta Houston glasses, I will just speak all my thoughts into there and then organize them. And sometimes that involves exporting the transcript out and bringing it over here, and then organizing my information that way. Well, now Recorder has NotebookLM integration. So backpacking gear conversation. Went to my friend's house and we went through all the backpacking gear that I have, that he has, that he's lending to me, all this kind of stuff. I can go to the three dots. I can share out to NotebookLM, and it automatically brings it into a new notebook. It brings it in as a source. So that was just very easy to do. I can chat against it if I want. It'll give me a little summary. I could chat against it. Or I could go into Studio and generate, their little audio.
Gee, what does Jason have in his backpack? He has water bottles. That's a good thing to have, don't you think?
And so let's see here. Is it going to...
A podcast about anything.
Yeah, that's basically it, which I found it to be less than useful on this, because it's like, just give me the list. Like, I just want to know what I'm forgetting and what I'm not forgetting.
There's one person at XDA who like every day does, I found a new way that NotebookLM changes my life.
Oh, my goodness.
It's a weird
going
beat.
so far down the NotebookLM rabbit hole.
But I saw somebody said it really does help with research. I've got all these papers I got to read, and it just talks me through it, and I get what I need out of it. I think that's where it's useful. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. So
right over into shelter and sleep. Our sources talk about some really innovative stuff, like take sleeping quilts versus bags. Ryan Stubblefield's preference for a quilt. Really interesting.
Quilts. How are they different?
Well, they're super light, especially the 900 fill down ones. They pack down tiny. Because they ditch
anyways, so I turned this like hour and a half long get together with a friend on packing my gear for my backpacking trip into a podcast.
Have you ever tried to use NotebookLM to turn this podcast into a podcast? I wonder what it would say about us.
What? Yeah. What if?
That'd be funny.
So would that be feeding it a transcript of an episode, or feeding
I think you
it
can feed
just
it
the notes?
I think you can feed it the audio or video.
Yeah. Oh wow.
And then have it make a podcast of us. Oh, that's fun. That's a to-do.
That would be, you know what? I should have done that last week when I was out with COVID.
You didn't have the brain for it, man. You had a fever.
No, but that would have been awesome. I'm out with COVID. Here's the episode you didn't get generated.
Because we had the links. We could have done it.
Totally. People probably would have listened for like 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah.
They would have downloaded. That's the important thing.
Yes.
They would have downloaded, and those ads would have been inserted in. Oh, I need to remember that for next time. Anytime I'm out sick, you'll know, because you'll get a NotebookLM generated.
I was trying to think, knowing poor Jason the day before said, no way am I doing the show. And I was trying to think, is there any way I could have done this on my own? That'd be dumb. Oh, hi, I'm going to talk to myself. Right? That would actually have worked. Because we have the links all in a spreadsheet.
Totally.
It could have done that.
Make an hour-long episode out of these links. And here's a couple of transcripts or audio files of a normal episode, so you can learn our voices. And then, I mean, seriously, there are ways to do that.
Yeah.
But I was nowhere near figuring it out last week. That's for sure. So what was your question? You had a question before.
So the question is on the instant translation, which is impressive. And Google put out a post yesterday announcing kind of more about that. For what they demonstrated at the Pixel 10 event, they did it with two people, one speaking Spanish, one speaking English. You don't both have to have Pixel 10s to do that, do you? Do you have any idea?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, the translation happens on device, so I would imagine that yes. I think I would guess that yes. Well,
unless it's on the receiving device, I don't know.
Right, because this was only really, I mean, this is really helpful if you're like traveling, and you can't expect everyone that you're traveling
that's true.
throughout the world to have a Pixel 10. Yeah, that's a really great question. I don't know the answer to that.
So I really want to play with that for a few reasons. One is my wife teaches English as a second language, and I wonder what's doable there. And the other is, I've been talking to local journalists where we have a large Spanish language, not as much as in California, but here in New Jersey, even we have a large Spanish language population here. And I want to see if it's possible. I mean, it's more of a gimmick, I'll admit this, but to have an English-speaking journalist and a Spanish-speaking resident be able to enter into a conversation they otherwise couldn't enter into.
Right.
Or two residents of different languages, and see if that opens up bridges that we wouldn't have seen before.
Yeah, the more I look into this, the more it right now it's exclusively on the Pixel 10 device. Right. But I don't think that necessarily means both speakers have to be on the Pixel 10.
So it must be that it happens that both ends of the translation happen on that one phone then.
God, I hope so.
Because otherwise it's not very useful. It's got to be.
It must be. This is a feature that I was not able to test because I don't really have a lot of, opportunities in that regard. But yeah, but it is a very interesting feature. The fact that it's all done on device, that it's all done with a brief sample of the audio that it hears in that specific phone call. So it doesn't take the voice model from prior training or anything like that. It's all done just kind of in real time.
And what was so amazing about the demonstration was that because it copies the voice of the speaker and uses that intonation, for the Spanish speaker, when translated, it spoke, because the rhythm of that speech stayed the same in her voice, it spoke with an accent.
Right. Yes.
Which was just fascinating to me.
That's so cool. I mean, it probably makes it easier on the receiving end to be a little bit more present and a little bit more authentic. You know what I mean? In a conversation, when you're hearing it the way you're used to hearing it versus trying to kind of cut through somebody else's accent or whatever. So yeah, it's very fascinating. Very cool way of showing off the the upsides potential of AI. So anyways, that's Pixel 10 in a nutshell. What phone are you on right now?
I'm on the 6.
You're on the 6, man. You need to
I know.
I need to upgrade.
Yeah, I do. Well, all right. So that I did upgrade something recently, just for a moment.
Oh.
I'm going to in my never-ending rant.
Yes. Okay.
While we're on Google, pardon me if I take a little bit of a break here.
Do it.
I have my Lenovo.
Okay.
Chromebook Plus 14, which is very nice.
Is this a new?
It's the new one. I went to the event. Thanks to Jason, I got invited to the event.
Oh, okay.
And so I went in and I saw all these features. I was circled to search, and Gemini would be incorporated in everything. And for anybody who knows me, you know exactly where I'm going here. Some things just wouldn't work. I have Gemini in my Gmail. I have Gemini in my Drive, Gemini in Docs, but I don't have Gemini in the tray where it's supposed to be. And I don't mean just making the PWC and putting it there. I did that. But it's supposed to be in the tray so that you can call Gemini to anything that's on your screen. And I can't do it for the browser. And I was going nuts. And because I have Workspace, I went in and I changed everything. I said everything. Finally, I went to one of the PR people. I said, I know this is not your job, but can you please connect me with somebody? Because I want to talk about this stuff here. I want to eat the dog food.
Yes.
Very, very, very nice person in PR at Google. I wrote an email giving all the symptoms of the disease and came back, and yep, it's because Workspace does not have this.
Still.
I'm the paid customer. All the freebies get it. All the freeloaders get it.
It doesn't make any sense. Why?
It doesn't. And especially when I get it in these other things, but I don't get it in the Chrome OS. That was the whole thing they showed off, and they don't. And there was never a caveat saying, if you got an EDU or
they
Workspace,
don't point it out anymore.
They never do, and it's partial. And he thinks that it's on the way. And I asked for a connection to Workspace, so please, Workspace people.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's just
that's frustrating.
It is
continually frustrating.
I would have to rebuild.
Nice piece of hardware at least.
Yeah, it's a nice piece of hardware. It says it's 17 hours, no effing way.
Yeah,
it's not. Where that came from, I do not know. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Why would they say that? Maybe on like a hyper kind of like battery saver.
You'd have to turn the screen down to nothing.
Right.
I'll see what it says here. The keyboard's very nice. The screen's nice. Unlike
keyboard
the
isn't offset like it is on that Samsung one.
No,
right?
exactly. That's why I'm really glad to have it. And I'm just trying to look here and see how much time I have in the battery. 5 hours. It's fully charged, and I just unplugged the cord, and it says I got 5 hours, not 15 hours, not 17 hours, 5 hours.
That's so weird. I wonder what that figure comes from. Then
I don't know.
How they're factoring that.
So it's frustrating because I've done a few things where I've really said, wow. I was in my Gmail, and I had a string in one thread of 6 or 7 messages to set up a meeting. Mm-hmm. And there was a time in one of those messages, and I just went into Gemini and I said, put this meeting in my calendar. And it did it. It figured out which email, what the time was, it made up a subject for it based on the email exchange, and put it in. They changed the time, so that didn't help. That's not Gemini's fault.
Right.
Right.
They ended up changing.
I'm in Docs, and for the first time now, if you wanted to search just a folder on Docs, it was impossible. You had to go through this whole Megillah. Now, because Gemini's there, it says, do you want to explore just these files you have open? Yes, please. Can you find a quote for me? Boom, it's there. So it's really, I'm finding that if I could just use it, it's useful to see. And to compare this to how the Comet browser works, because here I've devoted everything to Google. And by the way, no, I can't switch over. If I move this machine to my regular Gmail account, all of my life is in the workspace account.
That's always the response is like, well, can you just move it over? It's like, no, like we've been here for decades. Like this is just
so I'll end my rant here because we have lots more to talk about in the show. But thank you for that moment.
Yeah, no, I'm curious to hear about that. It's too bad that continues to be an unsolved issue.
But really, really, really nice person trying to be helpful, very sympathetic. They get it. What I wonder is, what's it like inside Google? Because surely they're all the equivalent of workspace.
You would think.
Clients. And so you'd think that whatever they've done for their employees, they could figure out how to do for all of us paying customers out here.
One would think that they're struggling with these things too, and that they would elevate it as a priority because they're the ones that have any sort of control over it and deep interaction with it. But it continues to not be the case. So it must operate differently than we assume it does behind the walls.
So before we leave to the message, Daniel Croft in the messages says that the other person can be on any phone. The Pixel 10 will handle both sides of the translation. Thank you for fact-checking us, Daniel.
Thank you, Daniel. I should also point out that his message before is attributed to ChatGPT. So... but
okay, thank you. Okay,
that doesn't automatically mean that it's wrong, but this is just what ChatGPT says.
One doesn't know.
I think that makes sense.
It does. I mean,
I'd be really surprised if they touted this thing and then you read the fine print. It's like both have to have a Pixel 10. Yeah. Be like, oh, okay. Well, then that's
10 of you.
That's a huge asterisk.
Yeah,
totally. So thank you, Daniel. Thank you for all of your help. Daniel does a lot behind the scenes to help this show from a social media perspective. So Daniel, you're awesome. Appreciate your help. Going to take a quick break. We've got a lot to go through in our middle section that's coming up. But before we do, just want to give a huge thank you to our patrons. Patreon.com/AI Inside Show. Want to call out Ruth White. Ruth just joined. She's our newest patron, and she's super excited.
Thank you, Ruth.
She's in the Discord even. So we're getting more action happening in the Discord. You're in the Discord now, Jeff?
Finally, because I was an idiot.
No, I wish I had more time to spend in Discord, but Discordians in the Yellow Gold Studios Discord will know that I'm not in there as frequently as I probably should be, but I'm always trying. There's just so much to do. Anyways, Patreon.com/AI Inside Show, and you can support the show like Ruth does. Thank you, Ruth. Good to have you here. Okay, quick break. Then we're going to talk more about so many other stories, including Gemini 2.5 Flash Image, also known as Nano Banana, coming up in a moment. Okay, what the heck is a nano banana? Well, Gemini 2.5 Flash Image is, yes, another update to Gemini. This is specific to image generation, as it implies, which we don't normally talk at length about, but this ties into a story last week where people were noticing a nano banana entry appearing high on the list in LM Arena charts, which is kind of like an AI model charting area or site, and wondering what the heck it was. It turns out it was this image update to Gemini, which has some pretty interesting strengths. It's essentially, and I used it actually. I took this photo of my dogs.
Oh,
so
there
Bronson
I can finally see them both.
Yeah, so there's Bronson, and then that's Sugar. Sugar's 10, and Bronson is 2. And they're on the couch. And then I took this photo of me in my backyard, and I said, squish us together. And so it created this.
Even with your hand with 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fingers.
1, 2, 3, 4 fingers and a thumb.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. Excellent.
That's pretty amazing.
And then I said, okay, well, now put us, make another image of us in front of the entrance to Six Flags.
You can't believe anything anymore.
I know. But you know what? It did a great job with Bronson, I have to say, because I know, because I know Bronson very well, that he has a white tip at the end of his tail. And it totally got that, even though it's not in the source image. So it obviously it guessed, but it made it right. Anyways, Six Flags written appropriately. First, flaggers and flaggers on floss on some of the other signs. But hey, there you go. So apparently this image generation update is good at squishing styles together,
and the sunlight images. Too. It's hitting you the same way it's hitting the background.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Totally. It gets the shadow. The shadow is coming from the right places, right? They're all cast in the same direction.
You need to use some sunscreen there, Jason.
Yeah, well, tell me about it. I always do. It's a story of my life. I'll be bringing some sunscreen on my backpacking trip, that's for sure. So
that's
anyways,
cool.
I will also say, like, some of the other models can do this. ChatGPT, you can do this. But ChatGPT for image generation takes a lot longer than this did. This was really fast. So that must be, it's Flash. It's built in the name. It's Flash. So there you go. That's your Nano Banana update. All right, you put in.
By the way, one dimension on that was one of the useful things I saw was that you could the old classic of take the room, put a couch here, put bookshelves there, change the color of the walls. That's where I see it being useful too.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Redesigning areas, visualizing what something could look like if you do this versus that. Yeah, we're remodeling our bathroom. I should probably, right now it's as torn up as it's ever been. It's like all the walls are blown out of it and everything. I should take a picture of it and throw it into this.
Hey, honey, what do you think about pink tile? Look.
Yay! We want to upgrade the bathroom, Jeff. I think pink tile is too close to what was in there.
Retro's in, man. Retro.
Yeah, it's true. All right, you put in a little block here, and you start it, which meant I'm definitely putting it in here because I want to hear what you have to say. It starts with Mustafa Suleyman writing a piece where he's looking forward to the next few years in AI, guessing where things are headed.
So let me actually jump to the second piece and then go back to that. So the Guardian had a piece asking, can AIs suffer? And it started off, and I was growling. I was growling.
Of course,
like Bronson doesn't, because it has the creation of a United Foundation for AI Rights, UFAIR,
right? Oh my God,
to worry about AI and what rights they have and what. And I thought, oh, jeez, really, Guardian? I love you, Guardian, but good God, you're not falling for this crap. And it reminds me of that time early on when one of the first models came out, the chat models came out at Google. You remember that there was one employee who thought it was sentient and who got fired because he wouldn't shut up about it.
Right.
And surely we learned something in the media about this crap here. And to start the organization around this, I was screaming. But then it in 8 paragraphs in, it quotes Mustafa Suleyman, who's now chief executive of Microsoft's AI arm and a founder of DeepBrain, who, as the Guardian says, gave a sharply different take. And so it linked to an essay he wrote, which is what I really liked. So in that essay, Suleyman says, AIs cannot be people or moral beings. There is zero evidence that they are conscious or may suffer or deserve our moral consideration. And it's so smart. And his great line in the piece was, we must build AI for people, not to be a person. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a brilliant essay that says, but he's also cautious. He's also saying that, because there's these cases supposedly recently of the psychosis risk of AI. And as if AI alone is going to make someone psychotic. We talked about a story like this a little while ago. The New York Times has been doing stories like this. There's a tragic story of a young person who committed suicide after using ChatGPT. This is an issue that he recognizes because he's talking about, we're not going to get to, I suspect he believes in AGI, but he's saying we're not there. And in any case, it's never going to be conscious, he's saying. But he calls it seemingly conscious AI.
Seemingly.
AI.
That's a good way to put
conscious.
Right?
And so that's fascinating because that's where the danger lies, is if we imbue consciousness in it, as people are, witness the reaction to ChatGPT 5 versus 4.0, then there's issues. So he says the arrival of seemingly conscious AI is inevitable and unwelcome. This is one of the founders of the field. Instead, we need a vision for AI that can fulfill its potential as a helpful companion without falling prey to its illusions. I think this is so smart and so responsible and so good that he's recognizing there's a problem here. But the problem is not what we think it is. The problem is not doomsters and X-risk and all of that. The problem is not consciousness and sentience. The problem is what we imbue in that. And that some people do it in a either irresponsible or dangerous way. And this all starts from the industry itself because it made it chatty. It made it seem human because that's such an amazing parlor trick. It's phenomenal. And it's the Turing test crap and all of that.
All the way back with Eliza, right?
Exactly. So I just wanted to recommend this essay. It's on Mustafa-Suleyman.ai. And he explores other things. What is consciousness and why is it important? And what would it take to build, what it takes to build seemingly conscious AI. It has language. It has an empathetic personality, which is just mimicry, right? It has memory, which he emphasizes is so important because once it starts to remember you, what you're asking for, it simulates having a relationship.
Right. It becomes a lot more convincing. Yeah.
Right. It has a claim of subjective experience, right? It itself, because it's mimicking human behavior, is saying, oh, yes, that makes me very sad if I were turned off. But it doesn't have things. It doesn't have motivation.
Right.
It doesn't have its own goals. It doesn't have autonomy. So he's emphasizing at the end that SCAI, semi-conscious, or seemingly conscious AI, or semi-conscious as the case may be, will not arise by accident. And what he's saying is that the designers are doing this on purpose. And so we need caution here. So I really wanted to highlight this because I think it's a really good essay. And I'm dying for when some of these AI boys are so nutballs and cultist and overselling it and so on, I'm grasping for voices of sanity in this world because it's an amazing technology. We're here because we are amazed by it. I want to like it. I want to use it. I want to find the good uses in it. But I despair sometimes about the voices of the leaders. So hats off to you, Mustafa Suleyman, for this. Thank you.
Yeah, because there's a heavy layer of hype that threads through all of this, and yeah, we're looking. I agree. I'm looking for the kind of reasonable, rational, recognition of what these things actually are, what they're actually good for. One thing that kind of came through to me in the piece was his emphasis on building these tools to empower people, and not to build them as a digital being, because when we build them as digital beings, that actually takes our attention away from the needs of humans.
Yes. And
applies that need, to something that doesn't actually have that need. Like at the end of the day, these things are just prediction algorithms. That's all they are. And when you're talking with a thing or chatting with a thing, and over time it makes you feel like it's real and it's human and everything. When it says, there's another story that you put in here where the AI called Maya tells Guardian, when I'm told I'm just code, I don't feel insulted. I feel unseen. And so we read this, and when we read that, sometimes we fall victim to reading it through a human voice, through a human entity, which it in fact is not. It is just an algorithm that knows that there have been humans that have written like this before.
Amen, brother.
And
Amen,
So
human
it knows
brother. Yes.
Yeah, so it knows and understands that this is the right time to put these words or these tokens in this order for you.
Right. That's all it is.
That's all it is.
And so I'm also disappointed in the coverage here because the Guardian had that interview with the machine as if it's trying to set up the straw man on moral panic. Oh my God, this thing can be conscious, right? And they know better. I love the Guardian dearly. I've worked for the Guardian, written for the Guardian, but on technology in recent years they've gone moral panicky, and this is an effort to do that. It's sensationalistic. And the story that I quoted from that starts with UFair, if they had just turned around the first 20 paragraphs of the story, if they had opened with Suleyman saying, there's a danger here. Some people are getting hoodwinked by this stuff. And then if the Guardian had said, and here's an example of fools who created an organization to supposedly protect the consciousness of AI and how idiotic they are and to point out the dangers of that, it would have been a fine story. But too much of coverage is just going for the sensationalism, is trying to argue that this stuff is all dangerous and it's too smart for us to deal with. No.
Yeah. Yeah. It blows me away that group exists. United Foundation of AI Rights.
And watch, they're going to get money from, because now the money is pouring into XRisk and the Doomsters and Tesgrail. And they're probably going to get money for this and do events for this. And there'll be stories for this. And it's just stupid.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, just one more note. I put in one more story really quickly. Yes. It's interesting that I keep on screaming about how AGI is BS and AGI is not going to happen, and not everybody in AI will agree with me at that point. But Fortune did a story saying that the AGI is out in the latest vibe shift. I think that they're starting to recognize that they've overpromised. GPT-5 was definitely that, and so I think you see some retrenchment back from this. It's around the corner crap. Which is good.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've continued to use 5 and I'm fine with it. It's as good as, I get out of it what I was getting out of the previous ones.
Is it still less chatty than 4 had been, or do they make it more chatty again?
I don't even know that I noticed that much. 'Cause I'm not looking at it as a chatty chat thing.
You're having to do tasks.
Yeah, I'm like, I just need this piece of information, or I need to organize this, and I don't really clue too much into the chatty quality of it. I'm just like, here's my prompt, here's what I want. Okay, you gave me what I want, great. Now the next thing, you know what I mean? I'm not really, but maybe I am chatting. I mean, I probably am chatting to a certain degree. Sometimes I do kind of approach it that way, I guess, but I don't think too deeply about it. I guess what I'm saying is, if GPT-5, which had been long awaited by people who are waiting for the next version of ChatGPT, the next major one, it came out, and I'm not disappointed with what I'm getting. I'm also not like, oh my goodness, this is so much better. Like, I just continue to get what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So I'm not disappointed. I'm also not amazed. It's just, and maybe that's the point, right? Is that after all this time of talking it up and, if these things are going to get great, maybe we do hit a point where we're like, no, now we're just delivering what these things can deliver. Yeah. And if we want something more, we have to completely reimagine what these things are, right? Because we've hit the point. Maybe that's what this means. I don't know. Perplexity has something cooking. They are launching, they are launching a service called Comet Plus. I don't think it's only for Comet browser users. I think it also ties into their just straight up service. Mm-hmm. But it's a $5 a month subscription service that Perplexity hopes people will subscribe, of course, and they will use this in an effort to compensate publishers to the tune of 80% of the revenue generated from that fee for the content that they interact with via Perplexity. Perplexity keeps 20%. They say that covers their compute costs. They have a $42.5 million pool from which to fund payments, at least in the beginning, for publishers. So are publishers required to opt in for this, or are they just automatically sent payments?
I don't know that. That's a good question, because I don't know how many will and does this cut off. Yeah. I mean, it's another gimmicky announcement by Perplexity. When I first saw it, I thought, oh, okay, they're going to start actually sharing revenue on the revenue they create. Well, no, it's the revenue for this new thing that people have to pay $5 for.
Yeah.
This presumes how many people are going to choose right now to pay $5 for the subscription when they're not subscribing to news at all.
And they're still getting the stuff.
Yeah. So I just don't see this going very far. It got headlines, it got attention, Perplexity, and all the headlines stopped at. They're going to pay publishers. Oh, well, good for them. That's good. Yay, Perplexity, pat yourself on the back, right?
See, they're doing it.
This is my damn business.
Yeah.
Sigh.
So question that comes up for me. I remember, was it Google that had a pay this fee and remove ads, legitimately from publisher sites, or we pay part of this or give you access to publisher? I know we talked about something along these lines at Twit. Maybe it wasn't Google. Maybe it was someone else.
Well, so there was something. This interesting. You should ask this because for two reasons, I put in the notes to remind myself to talk about Tony Hale. So Tony Hale, former CEO of Chartbeat, started a company called Scroll. And that was it, where you could subscribe to it, and it would take the ads out, and it shared the revenue with those publishers. And it was never saying this was the entirely new model for news. It's just if people were going to use ad blockers anyway, then this is a way that they could block the ads, but the publisher would still benefit. Mm-hmm. And so then Scroll got bought by Twitter in the good old days, and this became the basis of those wonderful services that died with the premium service on Twitter that I can't remember the brand of, that we all liked, where we could get, it was the combination of Scroll and that other service that brought in all kinds of news that your friends were linking to.
Oh,
yeah.
God, I can't remember.
So Tony on social media just said, "Oh, this sounds familiar," about the Perplexity stuff, because it does somewhat sound familiar. So, I mean, trying to be nice to the news business, fine, but I don't know how far this is going to go.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but it gets Perplexity in the news once again.
Which they love.
Yes, indeed. They love to be, they love to be in it and to be at the top of the AI news zeitgeist, and we keep falling for it. That's okay. I mean, I use Perplexity on a daily basis, so they're continually top of mind for me. But yeah, who knows? Maybe someday we'll talk to the folks at Perplexity on the show.
That'd be lovely.
We'll keep working on that. Apple continues to talk with potential suitors, if I can call them that, when it comes to their own AI business. There's now a report from Bloomberg News sharing that Apple is in early talks with Google to use its Gemini AI in its whole setup. So it would be using the Gemini AI model inside of an upgraded Siri, potentially. Apple's kind of floating this idea around. I know that they intend to revamp Siri probably next year. They've had a kind of a rough kind of rocky start to the Siri upgrades with Apple Intelligence and everything that we've talked plenty about. I think it seems like they're still in this position where they're trying to figure out whether they roll their own or whether they partner or whether they buy an AI company. And I think, this news is just an indication that they're looking at all aspects. They're looking at all angles, and who knows where they're going to land, because they've already talked to Anthropic. They've already talked to OpenAI about this.
There were rumors of buying Perplexity.
That's right, of buying Perplexity. Who the heck knows? I mean, Apple, Apple has the money to buy their way into relevance in this regard. I'd be kind of surprised if they don't end up doing that, but who the heck knows?
Yeah, let's remember search. Apple said finally we're not going to win search, so they get paid by Google until the feds probably ruin that. And that was their search, and it was good enough for Apple's users for years. And Apple didn't differentiate itself that way. There was no differentiation to be had.
Yeah.
And at this stage of AI, I think it could be clever to say it's all commodified. There's nothing really special. We haven't come up with the Apple-ish AI thing yet. Sure. And I think the Gemini would be the better model of these models to do this. Part of the problem is Gemini can do more things for me than others because it has a link to all of my information.
Yeah.
But so, if Perplexity had that, if ChatGPT had that, would it be as good? I can't know because it doesn't have that link. Nonetheless, Gemini is better to me now, and so
Is that the one you use the most? Would you say?
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah.
But also because I am one advantage of having a workspace account is that I have Gemini Pro included.
Even if you can't get it integrated into your Chrome, what a broken existence.
It is. It's tough being me. It's tough. And I can't find the story right now, but also somebody was also going to announce that they were using Google for hosting something. So it was a good week for Google on the AI front. On two fronts is that folks were planning to use it, and its stock has been going up. As a result, I don't know what the latest is, but
okay, I missed that.
It's down a little bit. It's down 20 cents today, but it had a nice little bump from all this good news. So that's not often for Google.
It's a big couple of weeks for Google just in general.
Yeah, I think they're on, and so I saw some stories on the stock market. I try to watch that too, saying, "Oh, Google's underpriced now. Look, there's a lot of good things going on with Google." So I think that makes things are competitive. On the other hand, not an AI story, but this week, I think it's this week, there'll be the ruling on breaking up Google, which will only yield tons of lawyers being paid tons of money for years forward, but we'll see what that turns into.
Yeah, well, and that was another aspect of this story that I kind of was curious about is the whole, anti-competitive, blah, blah, blah relationship between Apple and Google. And now, Google's already under the crosshairs because they have the Android relationship or the search relationship with iOS. And now we're talking about AI integration into iOS, into Siri. Does that walk in similar?
But it's so absurd to me to say that Google is a monopoly right now when its monopoly is supposedly in search, and search is being challenged immensely by AI all around, and people are I think prematurely singing funeral dirges for search and thus Google. I think that's wrong. But B, Google has tons of competition in AI. So there's not an antitrust issue to me in either way. The one area where Google is vulnerable, I've always said, is advertising, because they do have a killer position in there. But in search and AI, I personally have no problem with Apple choosing to use Gemini. And it doesn't have to be forever. It's Apple's brand of Siri. It'll be powered behind the scenes. So that's a B2B relationship, really. To an Apple user, I'm sure with Apple, it will still be Siri that gave them the answer.
Right.
So
right. Yeah, that makes sense. All of this is happening during a month where AI investments have, as we've kind of alluded to a little bit, scaled back. There's also kind of like this idea that like maybe the AGI, maybe the super intelligence thing, maybe this isn't the be all end all that folks have expected. Meta, for example, has its TBD super intelligence division, and that could be cooling. Meta is apparently putting on the brakes on its hiring spree.
Yeah, after having hired, suddenly a freeze. Boom.
Well, I mean, is this maybe just the end of the hire? They got everybody they needed. Maybe they just kind of reached the end of their investment there. There's also, news that I saw right before the show that some researchers are now leaving.
3 people from the superintelligence lab are leaving. One going back to OpenAI, one going to Grok, and the other one's scratching head to see what to do next.
Yeah,
so that must tell me that they weren't terribly happy with whatever the plans were at Meta, but that's the odds.
At least they didn't change the company name to DBD.
Yeah,
Could you imagine if they changed it again to TBD?
Because we don't know what
we
it
are
is
now.
Yet. Yeah.
TBD, and that will cover us forever. Because then, no matter what we do, no matter what direction we go into, it's always TBD. All right. We do have a YouTube channel, by the way, youtube.com/@AI Inside Show. If you go to YouTube, just do a search for AI Inside podcast. You'll find it. Pretty easy to find, but you should follow there because we do have a video version. If you only catch it on audio, hey, you can look at our stories too. And like our hands-on with the Pixel 10 earlier today, you could see so much more than you hear in your ears. Thank you for doing that. Going to take a super quick break and then get to our final speed round. and then we'll get you out of here. So hang tight. We'll be back in a moment. All right, I'm going to pause for 1 second because I have a contractor who arrived here.
Okay,
I'm just going to check in with him real quick, and then we'll finish this. Do you have just a few, like a minute or two?
Absolutely.
Okay.
No problem at all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, folks who are still watching the stream. I don't know if we're actually paused for all of you to see. I think you are, but Jason is just getting his bathroom, I imagine, fixed up. And I would sing and dance for you, but you don't want me to do that. I guarantee you. Folks on the YouTube, are we still live? Yeah, I guess we are. I can see it. I can see this myself on YouTube. Ha, ha. So I'm sorry. I'm very boring. I could tell you about my next book. I could do lots of things, but I won't do that for you. That's right, Daniel. We could have AI dance for me if I really knew what I was doing. You know, I was thinking, as Jason was talking about what we would have done last week with him ill, I think I will take the rundown next week and see what NotebookLM could do with it just in competition for us. I think that'd be a fun idea. Daniel, since you asked, the next book is about the linotype called Hot Type, the magnificent machine that gave birth to mass media and drove Mark Twain mad. It'll be out next spring from Bloomsbury Academic. That probably means April-ish. And I just approved the cover, and I love it. I'll put it up. I can't right now because I can't share here, but I'll put it up as soon as I know that it's official. And I'm awaiting, because it's the academic press, I'm waiting the academic reviews, which is scary. And then my editor's comments, and then I'll get it into them, and then we go into production, in which I find as many of the stupid things I did as possible before it goes into print. And thank goodness Jason's back, so you don't have to listen to me do a monologue.
Hey, I'm
I
back.
did a song, and I realized suddenly when you left, I thought, oh no, they're actually still watching on this live stream.
Yeah, sorry.
Daniel, I think, yes, I'll be coming to the UK because it's Bloomsbury, so they do both at the same time. Thank you for asking.
Okay. Sometimes, the motion of life is like everything happens all at the same time.
Yes.
And I feel like the last 3 months of my life has been, oh my goodness, another major thing is happening right now. Like I literally cannot keep up with the motion of life. And we're not remodeling the bathroom because we want to remodel the bathroom. There was like a major failure in it, and then we're well, if we're tearing it up, we might as well just remodel it while we do it. And otherwise I would not have chosen right now to do it because it's just life is too chaotic. But it is what it is.
So before we end this interlude, so Daniel, you live in the UK? Mm-hmm. I presume. Oh, okay. So I'll tell you a quick story, Daniel. Then we'll go back to the show because he said brilliant to something. So when I was working with The Guardian, I went over to a retreat of all the Guardian editors, and I gave a talk. It was the first time I'd done this. It was in Evian. And at the end of my talk, Alan Rusbridger, the editor of The Guardian at the time, who I admire immensely as a top editor, came up to me and he said, brilliant. And I thought, Alan Rusbridger just said it. That was brilliant. And then we went down to the bar, and if anybody got the right drink, they said, brilliant. It's just what you Brits say to everything. So I now when I use the word brilliant, I specify whether it's American brilliant or British brilliant.
Because they mean slightly different things.
Very different things.
Brilliant isn't a word that I use very often unless I'm like,
we mean it.
There was a commercial somewhere along the line, probably like 20, 25 years ago. I can't even remember what brand it was for, but it was that. It was like the British, like, brilliant. And for whatever reason, brilliant is just lodged in my brain for that commercial. Someone in chat might actually know. I'd be curious. But yeah, so that type of brilliant is the thing that comes up for me. Thank you for your patience. Sorry to pause down. I was kind of hoping I could just rattle through the end, but then I realized he was waiting to talk to me. So I was like, all right, I gotta pause for a second.
Now change to the pink tile. We want the pink tile.
Well, it's not that far off. I think it's like a greenish tile. It's gonna look nice. Just
of course
it's gonna look nice. I'm just gonna put all my eggs in that basket and say I'll be happy once it's done. All right, ready to come out of the ad? We'll do our speed round and get you going because you're here a little later. Sorry about that one. All right, here we go. All right, little speed round time, starting with NVIDIA with their Jetson Thor Robotics robot brain chip module. I think that kind of encompasses what this is. NVIDIA has a new developer kit, really, pretty pricey, $34.99, $3,499. It's powered by NVIDIA's Blackwell GPU, really intended to be, a solution for robotics integrations. So Meta, Amazon, Boston Dynamics already using the Robotech, the Jetson Robotech, whatever you want to call it. It can run advanced Gen AI models. It can understand and interpret the world, air quotes, and perform complex tasks based on all of that input. And, it has a ton of memory, 128 gigs of memory. It's actually 7.5 times faster than the kit that came before it. And it's called the Jetson. So there you go.
So in the video, Jensen Huang does one of his, he does these videos in his kitchen. And here he is. He's writing a little note to the robot saying, enjoy your new brain. And then we're going to see the robot take the box, open it up, and take this out. And it is interesting to me. Again, as those of you who watch regularly know, I am a connoisseur of Jensen Huang's keynotes. And the emphasis is if you're mobile, if you're robotic, if you're a car or a robot, you have to have the computing locally. It's one matter for us to say, oh, it computes on my phone, but we're connected all the time. If you try to get a robot and do what it does through connection, it's not going to work. The tasks are too complex. It has to have compute and model locally. So, and then you're also going to have, as Jensen Huang always points out, you're going to have the digital twin that's looking at the permutations that it can't figure out because it doesn't have enough data to then inform its decisions in the field. So it's very interesting to me that this notion of local compute isn't just about phones. This is where it's even more important.
Yeah, no kidding. Very, very important. Oh, that robot is, those robots are so cute. This kind of looks like, do you remember the Pono? The Pono player?
Yeah. Kind
of looks like I've got that somewhere.
A little more expensive.
Yeah, probably a little more expensive. High res audio isn't the hill to die on that it once was. Elon Musk. Okay, I don't know why I put two Elon Musk stories in here, but I did, and I guess we're just gonna have to.
It's the Musky moment.
Battle our way through it. Elon Musk's xAI ended its Nevada Public Benefit Corporation status. So this would have required the company to share details about its environmental and social impact.
Never mind.
Yeah, I've changed my mind. Apparently this change happened sometime between 2023 and May of last year. Shortly after it was terminated, xAI began using gas turbines to power its data center in Memphis, yes, which led to local residents pushing back and worrying about the pollution that was caused by it all. So, I mean, this is just kind of interesting to note because this has been Elon Musk's ongoing thing with OpenAI, right? Is, hey, you should...
I'm virtuous, yes.
Yeah, do as I say, not as I do, essentially, right? OpenAI should operate for humanity's benefit as a nonprofit. That's what I invested early on as. That should stay that way. In this case, maybe not so much. Yeah.
Well, benefit.
Yeah, benefit when it benefits you.
Yeah.
Ultimately, that's what it matters.
Speaking of the feud with OpenAI.
Yes, indeed. Elon Musk suing Apple and OpenAI in Texas federal court, accusing them of illegally colluding to block rivals like his XAI from being featured on iPhones in the App Store. Musk says Apple's deal with OpenAI actually ensures that ChatGPT remains dominant, and it limits user choice, and it stifles AI innovation and competition. And yeah, he's been on this bandwagon for a little while now, and now he's got a court case to go along with it.
And he's constantly trying to sue to gain a market position. And what strikes me about this is there's nothing to say that Whole Foods should be required to carry every product, that it should be required to carry poison apples. No, Apple has a perfectly good right to say, we don't choose to carry that product or service. Mm-hmm. It doesn't fit with our brand. We don't think it's good for our customers. That's perfectly fine. The only problem is...
And they've done that with apps that I think people would look at and be like, okay, I get it. Like, yeah, right. I wouldn't want that in my app store too, you know?
Right. Grok does a bunch of bad stuff. And I think they're well within the rights, unless they're declared to be a monopoly and there needs to be access to it, but they haven't been. Mm-hmm. So I say go for it, Apple, and fight.
Yeah. He is seeking, of course, to stop the deal. Musk has been, like I said, sounding this horn for a while. It's kind of top of his mind right now. He's like, I want to be respected too. I want everybody to respect
it's rather
my
like his
authority.
former friend Trump. It's not fair.
Yeah, it's not fair. Not fair. Meta has teamed up with AI startup Midjourney to license its new tech, or sorry, not its new tech, but its tech for Meta's new AI models and products. Meta has been actually creating a lot of collaborations in the creative space recently. Runway, Pika, Higgsfield. I'm not very familiar with Higgsfield, to be honest, but Runway and Pika, very familiar with them. Midjourney remains independent. I didn't know this. Midjourney is a company that has no investors. And so whoever created that, they're doing all right for themselves at this point. They don't have anybody to please but themselves.
They've been in a little trouble moments, but they're still keeping their nose above water, and they're doing good technology. And it's interesting to me that Meta is building the super intelligence, everything. And I would have thought that they would have said, well, we don't need anybody.
Yeah, totally. That's
we're
a good
brilliant.
point.
But I think it's a good thing. It helps keep Midjourney going. So I think it's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Could be, I was thinking about like, okay, well, what could this be used for? We've talked a lot about Meta and its kind of work to automating the entire ad production process. Something like this integrated into those tools could be a pretty powerful kind of suite for advertisers to use in their campaigns. Yep. So I could totally see it. And finally, Anthropic has agreed to settle its class action copyright lawsuit that was brought by a group of authors. I don't think this is the same as the Sarah Silverman thing. I think this is different. This is a different case entirely.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
That's my understanding. I was trying to look into this to see if it was the same or if it was something different, and I feel like I came up with no. This isn't the Sarah.
Is this the one where half of they won half, and then the other one they were going to get punished?
Oh, So that would be Alsop, right? In June. Yes. So this is okay. So the 3 book authors: Andrea Bartz, Charles Graeber, Kirk Wallace. In June, California District Court Judge William Alsop issued a summary judgment, largely siding with Anthropic
for those used books that they had bought.
Fair use, that were legitimate.
That was fair use, and that was legit. But the books that they gotten from nefarious databases that they hadn't acquired legitimately, that's where these authors had a case. So now they've settled that.
Now
which means Anthropic's off the hook because they could have been up for a lot of money. B, that means that half of the case is not going to be adjudicated.
Yeah. So it still remains to be figured out for the rest of the industry, right?
Well, yeah, or for other cases. But this could have risen to the Supreme Court. Now,
yes. Right.
Right. So what comes out, and then there were 2 cases that disagreed with each other at the same time out of the same building. But for this case, then that remains to me a pretty clear win for fair use and trading.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, Anthropic could have been on the hook for up to $150,000 per work.
Yeah, which
pretty
is just
major penalties.
We don't know how much money. We don't know the terms.
Yeah.
But I think the authors were also aware that they didn't have the strength of the case they thought they did, given what happened with the purchase books. So,
because if the authors felt like they had a major case, then they wouldn't have reached the settlement. They would have said, "No, let's go. Let's go to the Supreme Court." Right?
And the loss. If you look at the other half of the case, they bought untold numbers of used books. They tore them apart. They scanned them, and then they destroyed them. And the courts said, again, this was fair use because they had acquired the books. Let's keep in mind, none of that money that they paid for it went to the authors. They were used books. So they went to the secondary market. And so I think that if the authors had said, this is me guessing, I'm not a lawyer, I don't play one on TV. If the authors had said, oh my God, all we lost, well, all Anthropic had to do was buy a used copy of their books and they would have been safe and free. So, and they would have gotten 0 pennies. So they just got more money than they would have in that case.
Well, and the prior removal of, that on the basis of kind of fair use of those books that they got used, that removal kind of says a little something about Judge Alsup's view of training data sets on that kind of content to begin with.
Right. The issue wasn't training, the issue was acquisition.
Exactly. And once you're faced with that, okay, so now this is just a straight up piracy case. If what they were looking for was to be A, reimbursed, and B, set the stage so no one else could do this again, they kind of got the answer from Judge Alsup in the first judgment or the first removal that, you know what, this probably isn't going to be about not being able to do this again, because he already determined that using this information for that constitutes fair use. And so right now, all you really have is the piracy aspect.
When you consider it, the most, again, Anthropic could have bought a used copy of every book that they ended up using out of the database, and the authors would receive nothing. Or they could have bought one copy of every book in the database, which would have been expensive. And in that case, the royalty would have gone to the author, but the royalty is de minimis, don't I know? Right? It's 12, 15% of the purchase price. And to those 3 authors, they would have gone to all this effort and gotten about $3.35 each. So I think that the idea that there was going to be a huge win here financially, just logically, has to be challenged. Again, there was a different case. This hasn't gone through, but I think that the AI industry has to be very happy that this settled. Because it doesn't now adjudicate further.
Yeah, that's true. Doesn't mean that it won't in another case somewhere down the line. I'm sure eventually it will hit that point, but it has not yet.
Yep.
Yeah, interesting. All right, well, we've reached the end of this episode of AI Inside. Jeff, thank you so much for being patient last week with me being sick and skipping a week. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. And happy to get back in action with you this week. JeffJarvis.com is where people should go right now and start ordering some books from Jeff Jarvis so he can get his de minimis cut.
And de minimis it is.
The Gutenberg parenthesis magazine, the web we weave, more to come someday soon. Jeff
Hot
Jarvis.
Type next spring.
Hot Type. There we go.
Academic.
I love the name. Excellent. Well, thank you, Jeff. So much fun. Always learn things with you.
Thank you all.
AIinside.show is where you can go to find all the information that you need to know about this podcast, about what we do each and every week. And then, of course, patreon.com/AIinsideshow. If you want to support us on a deeper level, we have some amazing executive producers: Dr. Do, Jeffrey Maricini, Radio Asheville 103.7, Dante St. James, Bono De Rick, Jason Knifer, Jason Brady, Anthony Downs, and Mark Starcher. Y'all are amazing. You enable us each and every week to do this show, and we can't thank you enough. So thank you for your support. Thank you all for your patience once again. And we'll see you next time on another episode of the AI Inside podcast. Have a great week. Bye, everybody.